Nadia Nagari, Nitai Niche Niche Gare. Jagannath Suttam Mahaprabhu Vishwambar Mayapura Shashi Navadipa Sudhakar Shashi Sutta Gaura Hari Sundar Radha Baba Kanti Ata Dita Natabar Namananda Chavala Bala Kamatri Bhakta Ramananda Vanda Kati Kati Nariyana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Nariyana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Vidyate Udu Pachaura Dvair Mohan Kartika Sarvasya Kramya Balika Dinam Lakshmi Prati Bora Katha Katha Balaka Shisha Chira Pati Putra Shoka Nivara Lakshmi Pati Purva Desha Sarva Klesha Hara Niti Jai Darpa Hari Vishnu Priyasa Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Aya Dharma Pala Jaya Kinda Data Guri Shishya Madhachai Sampradaya Pata Krishna Namo Nata Krishna Katha Agya Pata Nam Sankirtan Yuga Dharma Prabhasa Advaita Bandhava Srinivas Hadana Nityananda Prana Gara Nidara Diva Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Antadi Shashava Simanta Vijay Gaurama Bihari Madhya Dipa Lirashai Kola Dipa Pati Ritu Dipa Maheshwar Janu Moda Tumaruga Tepera Ishwar Navakanda Ranga Nava Jana Vijivana Jagai Madai Adi Dubi Takarai Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Nagara Kirtana Sudha Kaji Udaran Shuddha Nama Kacharaka Pakati Haran Narayani Kripa Sindhu Jiveraniyanta Adama Padiya Dandi Bhakta Doshahanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Bharati Kalana Parivrata Shiramani Uttalasama Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Ambulinga Ruvanisha Kopatesha Pati Kir Chor Gopal Darshana Sukiyati Nirdandi Sanyasi Sarva Bhoma Kripa Moy Swananda Aswanandi Sarva Sukashora Purata Sundara Vasudeva Trana Karta Ramananda Saka Bhakta Tula Krishna Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Goda Jai Mayavadi Tukarta Kandan Dakshina Pavana Bhakti Granta Udaram Alala Dashana Niraka Karnataka Gajapati Prada Devananda Udarata Kuliya Prakashe Dushta Padurya Rachana Upasana Prana Bandhu Sarva Jivaka Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Narayana Kare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire Nanda Balabhadra Sangi Yavana Udari Bata Baladera Rangi Kashi Basi Sanyasi Udari Prema Data Markata Vairagi Nanda Achatala Chata Bhaktera Tora Bhaktari Bhakta Pranadana Hari Das Raghunath Swarupa Jiva Narayana Sade Nitai Nite Nite Narayana Sade Nitai Nite Nite Pakati Vinodar Hode Ranga Pai Narayana Sade Nitai Nite Nite Narayana Sade Nitai Nite Nite Jai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jai Gaura Nitai Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Vajre Vajre Ama Manati Manda Bhajan Nagati Naire Braja Braja Bane Radha Krishna Charana Ravinda Bhaja Braja Braja Bane Radha Krishna Charana Ravinda Bhaja Jnana Karma Parihare Bhaja Braja Bane Radha Krishna Bhaja Gaura Gadadhara Dvaita Guru Nityananda Bhaja Bhaja Gaura Gadadhara Dvaita Guru Nityananda Bhaja Gaura Krishna Vilaje Nire Guru Krishna Krishna Nire Mara Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda Mara Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda Smara Gaura Preme Smara Smara Re Smara Srinivas Haridase Smara Rupa Sanatana Jiva Raghunatha Dvandva Smara Smara Rupa Sanatana Jiva Raghunatha Dvandva Iko Deve Rupa Sanatana Mara Mara Raghava Gopala Bhatta Swarup Ramananda Smara Smara Raghava Gopala Bhatta Swarup Ramananda Smara Krishna Prema Jai Chao Re Swarup Ramanande Mara Mara Goshti Sahakarna Pura Saint Shivananda Smara Mara Goshti Sahakarna Pura Saint Shivananda Smara Ajatra Smara Smara Re Ajatra Smara Smara Re Goshti Sakana Pure Smara Rupa Nuga Sadhu Janam Bhajana Ananda Smara Smara Rupa Nuga Sadhu Jana Bhajana Ananda Braje Bhattadi Chao Re Rupa Nuga Sadhu Ajatra Smara Smara Re Ajatra Smara Smara Re Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Premanande Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 Who knows the name of the chapter? And what does the first verse start with? We're soon to find out. Chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures. Devasura Sampad Vibhag Yoga. Everyone say, Devasura Sampad Vibhag Yoga. Atta Shoda Shoda Yayaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Abhayam Sattvasam Shudhir. Yanayo Vyavastiti. Danan Damascha Yagnascha. Swadhyayastapa Arjavam. Ahimsa Satyama Krodhas Tyagashanti apaishunam Daya bhuteshvalolutvam Mardhavam hrir achapalam Teja shama dhriti shaucham Adroho nati manita Bhavanti sampadam daivim Abhijatasya bharata Dambo darpo vimanascha Krodha parushyam evacha Agyanam chabhijatasya Partha sampadam asurim Daivi sampad vimokshaya Nirbandhat asurimata Mashucha sampadam daivim Abhijato sipandava Dvaubhuta sargolokesmin Daiva asura evacha Daivo vistarasha prokta Asuram partame shrinu Pravritim cha nivritim cha Janana vidhur asura Na shaucham na pichacharo Na satyam teshu vidyate Asatyam apratishtam te Jagad ahur anishvaram Aparaspara sambhutam Kim anyat kamahaitukam Etam drishtim avashtabhya Nashtat mano pabudaya Prabhavant yurga karmana Shayaya jagatohita Kamam ashrita dushpuram Dambamana madanvita Mohad grihitva sadgrahan Pravartante shuchivrata Chintam aparyameham cha Pralantam apashita Kamo pabhoga parama Etavad iti nishchita Asha pasha shaterpada Da yada Ihante kama bhogartam Anya yenarta sanchayam Idam adya maya labdam Imam prapse manoratam Idam astidam apime Bhavishyati punardanam Asau maya hata shatrur Anishe chaparan api Ishvaroham aham bhogi Siddhoham balavan sukhi Ajo bijanavan asmi Konyosti sadrisho maya Yakshe dasyami modishya Ityagyanava mohita Aneka chitta vipranta Mohajala samanvrita Prasakta kama bhogeshu Patanti nanakeshu chau Atma sambhavita stabda Dhanamana madanvita Yajante nama yagnaiste Dhammena vidipurvakam Ahankaram balam darpam Kamam krodham samshrita Mam atma paradeheshu Pradvishanto vyasuyaka Kan aham dvishata kruran Samsareshu naradaman Shripam ajasram ashubhan Asurashveva yonishu Asurim yonimapana Muda janmani janmani Mam aprapyaiva kaunteya Tato yantyadamam gatim Trividam narakasyedam Dvaram nashanam Kama krodhastata lobhas Tasmat etat trayam tyajed Eter vimukta kaunteya Tamo dvaraistribir nara Acharantyatmana shreyas Tato yati param gatim Ya shastra vidim utsrija Vartate kamakarata Dasa siddhim abhapnoti Nasukam na param gatim Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya karya vyavastitau gyatva shastra vidhanuktam karma kartum iharhasi. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad-Bhagavad-Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Daiva Asura Sambhav Vibhag Yoga Nama Shoda Shodhyayaha Hari Om. Translations, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chapter 18, conclusion. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Pritha. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. O son of Pritha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires, and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Thus, perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Self-complacent and also impotent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, They sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules and regulations. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kuti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization, and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam class. Three. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tiravanachari. Jamuna Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. And now we'll greet the Srimad-Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, 13th chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Gurottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. 11:13. It's the Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we'll be reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we'll take up at Canto 11, Chapter 13, the Hams Avatar answers questions. And what's happened here is that the four Kumaras had met with Brahma, and they asked him questions about their identity. And Brahma, having just done some acts of creation, was affected by rajas, and therefore he couldn't bring the answer forth to their satisfaction. And just at that time, the Hams Avatar appeared as one of Krishna's expansions. And he came in the form of a swan and was there to answer the questions of the Kumaras. And they were eager to know how one could become at peace with this world without this turbulence of the senses, the ways that the senses are very difficult, and the mind very difficult to overcome. And the material world is seemingly very turbulent. So Hams Avatar begins to explain to them that the senses and the sense objects are inextricably connected. They're embedded within one another. Therefore, we might notice that without prompting, the senses go to their objects. Have you ever noticed that? And therefore, he said that it's quite natural that they do this. And he gives the instruction to them that one then can come into the position of shakshitvena, which means that one should notice this phenomena and be the witness of it, not being obligated to engage in that, but one could become an observer of this phenomena. And he said, rather than the mind becoming detached from the world, he said that you as a soul can become detached from the mind and observe it and see how it's working. And this is much the subject in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes the self-realized person, and he says, Prajahati yada kaman, that a person, Prajahati, is able to not engage with all the desires that come into the mental system, because that person objectifies the mind and sees that the mind is a factory that's creating various desires, and that although it's moving and creating desires, that I'm not obligated to do that. And elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Naiva kinchit karomiti yuktam manyeta tatvivit pashyan shinvan prasanjigran ashnan gachan swapansasan pralapan vishayan grinnan unmishan nimishanapi indriyan indriyateshu vartanta iti dharayan. That a person who's achieved this position of shakshitva, Shakshi means a witness, like Shakshi Gopal. That person is noticing that the senses are engaged with their objects, and also the mind is, but that I'm not involved with them. It's going on in a separate world because I'm not actually part of this world. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're taking up at text number 27. And this is Hansavatar, one of Krishna's incarnations, is speaking. And he says, Jagrat Swapna Shashuptam Cha Gunato Bhuti Vritaya Tasam Vilakshano Jiva Shakshit Vinishchita. Jagrat means being awake. Is everybody awake? Yes. You sure? Yes. Then that's good. Okay. Swapna means dreaming. Anybody have any dreams? Last night you dreamt something? Susuptam, deep sleep. That's deep sleep means there's no dreams. Cha, also. Gunata, caused by the modes of nature. Buddhi, of intelligence. Vritaya, the functions. Tasam, from such functions. Vilakshana, possessing different characteristics. Jiva, the living entity. Shakshitvena, with the characteristic of being a witness. Vinishchita, is ascertained. Translation: waking, sleeping, and deep sleep are the three functions of the intelligence and are caused by the modes of material nature. The living entity within the body is ascertained to possess characteristics different from these three states and thus remains as a witness to them. Shall we say together? Yes. Waking, sleeping, and deep sleep are the three functions of the intelligence and are caused by the modes of material nature. The living entity within the body is ascertained to possess characteristics different from these three states and thus remains as a witness to them. Purport. The spirit soul actually has nothing to do with the material world, having no permanent or natural relationship with it. Real renunciation means to give up the illusory identification with matter in its subtle and gross forms. Sushuptam, or deep sleep indicates sleeping without any dreams or conscious activity. These three states are described by Lord Krishna as follows: Sattvaj jangranam vidyad rajasaswapnam adishet pravaspam tamasa jantos turiyam trishu santatam. One should know that wakefulness is born of the mode of goodness, dreams from the mode of passion, and deep dreamless sleep from the mode of ignorance. The fourth element, pure consciousness, is different from these three and pervades them. Bhagavatam 11:25-20. Real freedom means shakshitvena, or to exist as a witness to the functions of illusion. Such an advantageous position is achieved by development of Krishna consciousness. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how, because we are spiritual beings who are now residing within a material body, and we have relationships in the material world, that we have two duties to perform. One is called paramartika, and the other vyavaharika. Vyavaharika means that we have duties in this world, because although we're not our bodies, we're within a body, and it's born into a particular circumstance, family, society, and unless you're Jad Bharat, then you have some ways that you have to carry out your duties on that level. And the other aspect of our life, he said, is paramartika, which is an awareness and the activities that go along with that of our ultimate goal in life. And that we're primarily interested in our ultimate goal, which is to go back home, back to Godhead, and to revive our relationship with Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that the soul is never diminished by any material association. The material nature is turbulent, it's always changing. It's conducted by the modes of nature, which Krishna says in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, are always competing with one another for supremacy. There are sometimes upsurges in the mode of goodness, sometimes in the mode of passion, sometimes in the mode of ignorance. And the mind, which is what Krishna says in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is the center of all the senses, is also part of the material nature. It's a material instrument. So it's affected by these modalities as well. Therefore, Krishna says we're grappling very hard with the material nature. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives us advice about how to be in the world and do our vyavaharika duty, while at the same time not becoming bewildered and thinking that actually I am part of the material world. Even though we're not part of the material world, we have to act in some ways as though we are. So Krishna's advice goes towards showing us how to do that duty in this material world with a sense of offering it to the Supreme, whatever duties we're doing, and not becoming disturbed by the changes. He says this in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Matra sparshas tu kantaya shitoshna sukadukata agama paino nityas tams titiksha shvabharata. Titiksha is an important concept in the Bhagavatam and also in the Bhagavad Gita of tolerance. Tolerance of the changes that go on in the material world. That can be achieved especially for one who knows that ultimately I'm not affected by these changes. And Krishna also recommends doing work which is non-binding, and the kind of work that's non-binding is work that's offered to the Supreme. That is, we do our duty and connect to the Supreme. There's a conception Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita, the Varnashrama, which means that whatever position in life we're in, and we will find ourselves in various positions and situations, because as we come out into the world, we're introduced to a particular family, says, welcome to the clan, here's your new clothes, here's what we eat, here's how we talk. And we also, because of our previous associations, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Purusha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sangosya sarasad yoni janmasu. We have a predisposition towards the world. Some things we like and other things we don't like, naturally because of our previous associations which have caused impressions within the mind. Therefore, Krishna has created this system so that in all the various situations in our life, and according to our predisposition, we can be engaged in work in a certain way, and we can also be in a kind of practice in life, no matter what duties we have to do, that connect us to Krishna, to remind us of Krishna. This comes up also in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes the force of material consciousness and how it's carrying us from one situation to the next. We're actually being moved forcibly. And it's because we've developed a certain kind of consciousness by our association in the material world, as I just quoted from the 14th chapter of the Gita. And so Krishna then says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yujyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mami vaishyasya samshaya. He says, therefore, Arjuna, as you do your work in this world, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, no matter what time of your life it is or what time of the day it is, all the time, you should offer your work to me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yujyacha. And you should remember me as you're doing your work. Have a way to be a conscious of me, that I'm actually the super soul behind everything. And he says, Mami Vaishyasya Samshaya, that it's a very certain that if you do this, as you're seemingly entangled in the material world, but at the same time you remember Krishna, then you'll be able to detach yourself from the normally very difficult situations in the material world, and you'll be able to develop an awareness of Krishna, and then realize that actually you have nothing to do with the material world, and your relationship and your self-interest really is in serving Krishna. So there's a conversation in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita between Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya. Who's asking the questions in that conversation? Who? Mahaprabhu's asking to Ramananda Roy. So he asks him about what is the supreme goal of life and how to attain it. And Ramananda Roy mentions various ways to do this. He says that one should take up Varnashrama. And Mahaprabhu says that he didn't find that answer to be complete. So he said something about it being external. It's kind of superfluous. Basically, what he's saying is it's not going to work very well. And then Ramananda Roy gives several other suggestions. One of them that comes next after mentioning Varnashrama. Varnashrama means to work in a system of varnas and ashrams. Varnas means that people have certain proclivities for work. Some people are naturally very scholarly and cerebral and peaceful, and they like thinking and understanding, and then presenting it to others. They teach others, like, here's how you can do it. And then there's a class that are forthright, and they are strong in will, and they like to stand up for others and protect others. They're called Kshatriyas. They become managers, rulers, kings, and so forth. And then there's a class, and these are determined by mixtures of the modes of nature, that people have these natural tendencies that like to create things, like to do commerce, like to develop land, like to develop business, and so forth. And these, Krishna says, these types of people, Vaishyas, he calls them, can be engaged according to their nature in working the land, taking care of cows. And then there are those who are very expert at doing service for others, fixing things, and they're just really good at making sure everything works and making sure that they tie up all the loose ends to help everybody else make their things work. They're called Shudras. So all these are necessary and important, and there's a natural way that people have proclivities that fall into these various categories. And then there's an ashrama system. Ashrama is a way to live your life in a way that you live naturally in a normal condition of life, but you're situated in such a way that you're giving your energy towards God at the same time, so you don't waste any time in life. So generally the first ashram is a student life, because when you're young, you can learn things quickly, and your mind's very open to hearing new things, learning them, taking them in. And also, this is called the brahmachari ashram, and in this ashram there's ways in which young people don't mind doing austerities, waking up very early in the morning, right? And this ashram is meant to teach fortitude and internal strength. If one lives in such an ashram, one lives without thinking that I own anything, and just lives to serve in the home of the spiritual master, and then does things for the guru and thinks everything's for the guru, and so forth. So learns selflessness, and that actually I could be happy just by service. And then after that there's the grihastha ashrama, and in this ashrama, one in this kind of classroom, one learns to live married life, family life, and keep everything centered around Krishna in the family. So if one is in the grihastha ashram, one's married, one has children, one has a house, a griha, and in the house one keeps the deity, and then there's some kind of spiritual vibration going on in the house. This is, and those working, they dedicate the fruits of their work to Krishna. Then the vanaprastha ashram means there's a natural time in life when one's married, and then one's economic situation is stable. One can then just start to not be so absorbed in economic development. Kids have grown up, and the grihastha couple will then travel extensively, especially to holy places, and do services like teaching Krishna consciousness to others and so forth. And in that way, they go back to their roots, remembering their early days when they did austerities, and they start to come back into that remembrance that, oh, I can live very happily by being simple and just doing service. And then some people take the sannyas, and sannyas means the man goes off to just travel, or at first, of course in the Vedic system there's this way that's very gradual. The husband moves into a little place, and the family comes by and feeds him, puts the food, here, take this. And then he gives that up and goes and wanders and finds grains in the field and just takes whatever he can find. Then after that, there's Parvajakacharya, just wanders the world and teaches Krishna consciousness, and then later retires and goes into a kind of, bhajan or samadhi. Anyway, these are all these are all ways in which anyone can live a progressive life. And of course, not everyone has to go through every one of the ashramas, but certainly one should follow the directive to keep everything in relationship with Krishna. So that varnashrama is what Ramananda Roy mentioned. He said, take up varnashrama. And Lord Chaitanya said, that's external. So then Ramananda Roy said, then give up varnashrama, which relates to the verse, and he quoted it, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ahantam sarva papebhyo mukshayami masuja. Just give up all your duties. Just surrender to Krishna. And amazingly, Mahaprabhu said, that's external. And then he gave a couple more suggestions, which I won't go into because they're really nuanced and not important for the point I'm coming to, which is that Ramananda Roy then quoted a verse from the Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, 10th canto, 14th chapter. Who can say what that is? Who's speaking in that chapter? Yes, Kota Karnava? Yellow mic.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So Lord Brahma is offering prayers in that chapter, 10th canto, 14th chapter, and it's the third verse where he's talking how one should give up the endeavor to...
Wait a minute, don't say the verse.
Okay.
I just asking what's happening in the chapter.
Okay.
In general.
And he has committed an offense, and after that he understands that he is Supreme Personality of Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he's offering prayers and seeking forgiveness.
Yeah, it's a poignant section of the Bhagavatam, and it's in Vrindavan, and he's met Krishna face to face and understood his position, and now he's giving his realizations in the form of these prayers. So Brahma is very intelligent. He studied the Vedas 3 times. And he understood very well, except not completely, because Krishna's not so easy to understand. But then finally, Krishna put him in a situation where he could actually realize exactly how powerful he was and how beautiful he was and how compassionate he was. And then Brahma heartfully gave himself to Krishna in his prayers. The picture is on that back right wall. And you see little Krishna there. He's just a little cowherd boy. He's very small there, see? And see Brahma. He's this powerful demigod. His name's Vidhi. He knows everything. If you ask him any shloka, he knows it. If you ask him any ritual, he knows that too. All the rituals, all the vidhis he knows. And he's a creator, and he's really amazingly powerful. Krishna's empowered him to be almost as powerful as him, so he can do his duties. And there he is before a tiny little cowherd boy in the forest and offering these prayers. So, that's amazing. And what does he say? As Kautakarnava Prabhu went right to the verse, because he understands the progression of this conversation. He gave the verse that Mahaprabhu accepted. And this is important for us because we don't have a lot of time, right? Yes. Kind of busy, right? It's hard to keep everything together as it is. We'd like to go right to the point and say, so what works? Should we concentrate on being very Vedic, and should we be in the Varnashrama? And it's like, yeah, but what's the essence of it? how do we come to this point? Well, we can understand from Lord Chaitanya and what he accepted. So he says in this chapter that you should give up trying to understand God through cultivating knowledge. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't get knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam, but there are munis that speculate about the position of God, and there are myriad books and treatises written to try to understand the nature of the world and the nature of God, various philosophies. And those who are very intelligent become attached to them and propagate them to the world. So basically he's saying, Brahma, that don't worry about all these various philosophical systems and trying to understand me or Krishna with your intellect. So he says, Jnane prayasamudha pasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavati avartam, which means completely give up that idea. That's not how to understand Krishna. He's tried. So then he says, Stane stita shruti katam tanuvan manobir, that from your position, hear about Krishna and use your ears. So check and see if you have them. Did you remember you had ears when you woke up this morning? No, you didn't. Don't tell me you did. You didn't remember. And we barely ever remember what assets we have. It's just like, oh, I don't look good, I don't like this shirt. But, remember, you're born with ears. So he's saying that's your biggest asset. If you use them to submissively hear the transcendental vibration about Krishna, then you'll come to the perfect stage. Now, my point, and I heard this from Prabhupada, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that Sarva Dharman Parijya is external? Of course, it's an important verse, and we go to it over and over again, surrender to Krishna. But Prabhupada said, after Krishna said this, nobody did it. The Bhagavad Gita was there for thousands of years, but who said, Sarvana, okay, I'll just do that right now. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to show practically how to do it. And he's revealing it in this conversation and elsewhere, but especially here, of what that means, how to surrender to Krishna. So Prabhupada said the reason it's external is because most people can't do it. From the position that we're in at the time, when there's so many obligations to the world, and we feel perhaps that my practice of Krishna consciousness is intermittent or whatever it may be, the idea of, okay, I'll just drop everything and do this, it doesn't seem so practical. Therefore, it's external. However, because you have two ears, and you can take time, as you're doing right now, to listen to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And anyone can do that. And this is one of the points of why it's an effective process. You can sit and listen, and you can know everything. Now, that's amazing, because sometimes one might think that it would require much more than that to know everything you need to know. But God has made a provision for every living entity. Squirrels know how to open a walnut, which is amazing to me because it's really hard for me to open a walnut. In fact, we had a little sack of walnuts, and Nirkula gave most of them to the squirrels because she said it's easier for them to open them. And she put them outside, and they came along and said, yeah, I know how to deal with this. I know what a walnut is and how to open it. I was like, how do you do that? We need a nutcracker. I can't open it. And, don't get me into all the animals, but mongooses, they fight with cobras. They're so expert. How'd you learn that little kung fu move to catch a cobra? Because I'm not going to do it. Every living being has some strength, and it's provided by God. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate. The Supreme is the complete whole. And everything that comes from the complete whole is also complete in itself. There's a complete arrangement within the world for each complete unit to maintain itself. Of course, human beings can mess things up temporarily. Like I heard Prabhupada this morning say, the British thought it was wise to split the countryside into Pakistan and India. And he said he left the agriculture on one side and the industry on the other side so the two can't cooperate. And therefore there were problems, food shortages and so forth. He gave that as an example of the way people artificially arrange things and therefore mess up the already perfect system in nature. So what is our speciality as a human being? That we can stay in one place and hear about Krishna and perfect our consciousness, come to the perfect stage just by hearing. And by hearing about the nature of the soul and our constitutional position as not having anything to do with the material world, and then also getting information about the spiritual world and the relationships there, what Krishna looks like, how he interacts with others, the mind can naturally become attracted to Krishna and does become attracted to Krishna. And this is something that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought up to Sanatana Goswami when he told about Krishna's opulence. He said that Narada Muni went to see Krishna in Dwarka, and he saw that he had 16,000 palaces. There are some wealthy people in the world nowadays, and usually they have more than one house because, you got to have more than one house. If you're rich, what are you going to do with all the money? You got to have more than one car and have more than one watch. But we don't know anyone who has 16,000 watches or 16,000 cars, but to speak of 16,000 houses. So Krishna has that, but there's more. Most people in the material world, if they're wealthy, they have a hard time keeping up their houses. Yes, they have houses, but eventually they sell them. You'll see that very rich people, they'll put their house on sale. They had 500 acres in Montana. Seemed like a good idea at the time. A big ranch-style house, but they never go there. They live in L.A. And, if you leave a house for very long, it gets filled with spider webs, and for some reason, it just falls apart. Lots of people have apartments in the Dom, and it's like, yeah, let's live in the Dom, and then they get an apartment. And it takes a lot of maintenance, doesn't it, to maintain that place. What to speak of 16,000. So Krishna was within each one of the palaces, and he had a family there. He had a wife, queen, family, in each one of the 16,000 palaces. And Narada went around to see what was going on in all the palaces. So when he looked in one palace, he saw that Krishna was playing with grandchildren and he was riding around like a horse. That is, he was acting as a horse and his grandchildren were on his back. In other places in another place, he saw that Krishna was sitting with Uddhava, who was his trusted counselor for performing various duties. And they were drawing out some plans. And in other places, he saw that he was talking with one of his queens. And this way, he went around to all the palaces, or most of them, and saw that Krishna was the same Krishna in each place, but he was doing something different in each place. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Sanatana Goswami that when you hear about Krishna's opulence, at first the mind says, wait, what? Because I can't do that. Therefore, this must be some kind of mythology. But as one goes on hearing and then understands the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes how we're actually very tiny and he's unlimitedly powerful, and points out that we can look at material nature and see how powerful he is. just see the power of a seed. If you look at it in your hand, it looks like a little insignificant fragment of who knows what. I mean, it's hard to understand what a seed is until you plant it in the ground and pour some water on it, and then a big tree comes up. That's a miracle. How do you do that? I mean, who thought of that? Who engineered a seed? And you say, well, I could do that. Well, could you do this? Could you get a seed that grows up and then it has fruits that have more seeds inside? Can you do that? Not yet. Not ever. We're tiny. We can't create such things. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bijam mam sarva bhutanam, that that's me. That's my power. You can see it. Try to understand my opulence within the seed. And when one sees that, no, there must be a supreme, and then one can understand that the supreme, Prabhupada said, must have his own life. It's not that the supreme will just be our order supplier, because in the material world, our relationship with Krishna is as order supplier. God, give me this, God, give me that. Right? Everyone's saying, God, get me out of this, get me out of that, and also bring more of this and less of that. That's my prayer. So that's not the position of the Supreme, logically. The Supreme is the enjoyer, the Supreme enjoyer. Just like a rich person in this world is supposed to be a big enjoyer and not be have to serve anyone, just be served all the time. It doesn't work out because it's not the constitutional position of living any. But in the definition of real God, it does work out because that's what his constitutional position is as the supreme enjoyer. So then one can understand that there must be a situation where this amazing person who's just by his thought process has created the whole material world and designed all the elements in it, has made everything complete, also has a life of his own. Taking that progression and then hearing how the Srimad-Bhagavatam is spoken by personalities who are spotless in character, like Shukadeva Goswami is described in the beginning of the Bhagavatam as one who is not attached to the material world. He has no vested interest in it. He's not asking for some profit back for his teachings. And the saintly devotees who have heard Srimad-Bhagavatam and passed it along, we can gain faith and understand the Mahajans, the great souls, and how they've revered the Bhagavatam and mention it as the panacea. And if we do that, and then we hear about the opulence of Krishna and his personality, then it can begin to awaken within our heart. Or first of all, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it purifies the mind to hear about such opulence. And then we can also hear about Krishna's activities in Mathura, where he's interacting with the inhabitants there, and we can hear about his association with the devotees in Vrindavan, where he has loving exchanges. And is seemingly not God, but actually just a cowherd boy. And all this goes to capture the mind. This gradually attracts the mind to the reality of the spiritual world. And meanwhile, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, as we're becoming attracted and purified by hearing, that our engagement in the material world, it seems less appealing because, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yoanaya evate adyantavanta konteya nate shuramate buddha, that it becomes troublesome. The way that I try to enjoy in the material world, there's the law of diminishing enjoyment. Please open a couple doors. We need a little more air in here. Remember we tried that experiment before and we could realize that living beings need air? Watch, you'll see everybody come to life. Then, what was I just saying? When the air comes, then you can say. Troublesome in the material world. And then we'll see that engaging in spiritual practice is not troublesome at all. at first it may seem like an austerity, because if you're attached to scrolling on a screen, the idea of reading a paper book becomes like, ew, I don't want to concentrate. I just want to be lost in mindlessness. But actually, we are happy by nature, and we're connected with Krishna. And when we understand that it's actually not an austerity, and we start to appreciate it, then there's a way in which we come back into our original consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness, and we're attracted to the spiritual world. So Krishna says in the Gita, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasa dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishva nivartate. When you taste the Supreme and you see it for yourself, then the rest of the activities that we're naturally engaged in, but or I should say, we don't feel obligated to be attached to them. We're no longer attached to them because we've experienced something higher. So this leads, Brahma says in his prayer, to a position where we love Krishna and we're fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna with love and serving him with love. And in that situation, Krishna becomes attracted to us also. So much so that he feels obligated to us, in a sense, because of our love. And then Brahma says, Jita Jito, that the unconquerable, Ajita, becomes conquered by our love. But how does that happen? For an ordinary person who's living in, let's say, Iowa or Nova Scotia or Cupertino, or as some of you like to say, Cupertino. How does it happen for somebody like that? Stanestita shrutika tamtanavanamonobir, using the hearing process, the 2 ears. That's the entry process. If you hear for long enough, then all of these transformations naturally take place within the heart. And when it comes to the position, which is normally would be unimaginable, which is to be a lover of Krishna, so much so that Krishna loves you, or he already does, but there's a sense of him being conquered by your love. And that's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that the devotee actually ties up Krishna with the ropes of love, and Krishna won't leave. So Krishna already won't leave. He's already there as the Paramatma. But our relationship with him changes when we develop a sense of love, because ye yatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna says, however you approach me, whatever your mood is towards me, then I'll reciprocate in that same way. So the problem's not with Krishna, and it's not that he's being elusive, but it's just that I've fallen asleep at the wheel, and that's not good. You know, you smash into a tree, and then it's like, why is God so mean to me? Because, you know, like, I'm such a good person, this was a great car, but now it's ruined, and my life's ruined. It's like, well, why just fall asleep at the wheel? So this verse describes how there are these 3 stages that define material life. The so-called awakened state, that's in the mode of goodness. It's not transcendental, it's the mode of goodness. You know you're awake, right? Especially now there's air. When you wake up in the morning, you know the difference between I was sleeping, now I'm awake. And even when you're in deep sleep, you awaken and say, oh, I feel refreshed now because early I was sleeping, even though in that deep sleep state called susupti, you're not unconscious, but you're conscious of nothing. And then you awaken and you realize that, oh, I was in another state because you were there and now you're here. But these are all the churnings of the material nature. But there's another state beyond those, which is transcendental. And it can be attained by anyone by being in contact with Krishna, by the process of devotional service, which begins with hearing and chanting. And one can attain perfection in life and actually raise oneself, raise one's consciousness to that transcendental level. By how? By listening and being attentive to hear Krishna's message. Now we'll take a few reflections and questions. Yes, Krishna Saka.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the enlightening class. I have a question. In the beginning of the class, you mentioned soul should become detached from mind rather than mind become detached from senses. So can you explain, like, practically? I have some experience, but still I'm not very clear. So, like, you know, s- difference. Even intelligence is material, right? So, how we can understand, like, soul to be different and detached?
Well, the intelligence is material also, but it's still higher than the mind. And something that's less subtle can't understand something that's more subtle. So the mind can't understand the intelligence because it's grosser than the intelligence, but the intelligence can understand the mind because the intelligence is more subtle than the mind. And therefore Krishna says, Evam buddhi param buddva samstabhyatmanamatmana jahishatra mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. That you can fortify your intelligence by hearing from me and understand the workings of the mind, and you could observe it and to see how the mind's attracted to various elements of the material nature inextricably, and you could make that observation through the lens of the intelligence. And in a very practical way, you might just notice yourself and how your mind changes at various times. Like, have you ever noticed that when you go to sleep at night and when you wake up in the morning, you're of two different minds? Like, your mind went for a long journey, and there's a lot of churning in sleep. The mind's going through a lot of machinations and associations with people. Lose your ticket, can't catch a flight. And then you wake up, it's like, where am I now? Oh yeah, right. And what do I have to do? What's my duty? And you can notice that. You can be the observer, shakshitva. You can observe the fact that your mind was different at night, now it's in the morning, so you're the one watching it. And you can see, oh yeah, it was like that then, now it's like this. And you can see, if you're a little observant, in fact, in self-help, people talk about making this little gap between your emotions and your reaction. So this also means that you're being observant rather than just being caught up in the currents that the mind brings to us because of the changing modes of nature. And you're like, oh yeah, I just felt a surge of anger. Like, yeah, isn't that interesting? It's not really me. It's just the state of my mind right now because my mind's not purified. And you can also notice when your mind's purified by hearing and chanting, something happens that would normally make you angry. You think like, wow, that's interesting how the material nature works. You're the observer. You're watching it happen. You're not carried away by it, by the state of your mind. Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I'm a little bit confused about the intelligence because you mentioned that it is still subtle, but also material. I guess when we do spiritual practices, is it that we're spiritualizing the intelligence, or like, how is the process working there?
Yes, we're spiritualizing the intelligence. And when you put an iron rod in fire, and it becomes warmer, and then hot, then red hot, then it changes color. It also changes quality because it is iron, but then it becomes fire. You can transform material elements from one thing to the next. So the intelligence can become transformed. And in this chapter, Hamsavatar talks about how the materially directed intelligence is what keeps us in the material world. It's samsara chittam. It's like the intelligence in the material world is tuned to try to enjoy the material nature. That's the main thing. Everything's about like how am I going to enjoy these three modes? Where will I be situated so I can enjoy them the most? That's the materially contaminated intelligence. And then that becomes transformed. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, he told them, your constitutional position is a servant. And if you use your intelligence to figure out how to serve Krishna, more and more, then it gets purified and it starts to transform. And instead of directing you, the intelligence is very powerful. You see human beings. We were driving across the bridge the other day, near Kula and I, across the San Mateo Bridge, and we were thinking, wow, how did they do this? I couldn't do it. And what to speak of all the trouble it took to build a bridge. Like, why did they do it? It's like, hey, there's more shopping over there in the East Bay. Don't you want to be there? That's usually the motive. It's some economic push. Like, let's get over there. There's oil, and everyone's trying to figure everything out based on, like, what's best for enjoying my senses in the material world. That's how the material intelligence is contaminated. The pure intelligence means that it's thinking how to serve Krishna. So in devotional service, sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatprapvena nirmalam, hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchite. There's a way in which we engage our intelligence to think how to serve Krishna. Like, look at this garland. The garlands at ISV, I was there. I saw them in the early days. Bless the souls of those who made them, because they were accepted by Krishna. But they were really straggly. And I mean, Jamuna was bringing a box of carnations. That's all we had. That's all the time. We were so poor. And you just get one box of carnations, and somebody with, a needle and thread put them together. And we also, kids, did not have any air conditioning in our place. And in the summertime, those poor little garlands became the rattiest little things you've ever seen after about an hour in the 100-degree temperature inside the temple room. We lived through that, 7 years of it. So, you look at the deities and go, like, what are they wearing? There'd be little dried up carnations, I slightly digress. But look at what they're doing now. This is spiritual intelligence. There's no reason in the world to do this, such artistry in making garlands, unless you're, engaging your intelligence in Krishna. And I mean, this is, whenever I show these to people, I take these out and give them to people in the world who have no idea what a garland is. They've never seen one before, and they go, what is this? Who made it? That should be in the Smithsonian. It should be. I mean, look at that. So that's spiritual intelligence. Those who come take care of the deities, they're thinking how to dress the deity so nicely. And then those who are trying to spread Krishna consciousness, they're just thinking 24 hours a day. Like, what do we do next? How are we going to ship the books in? How are we going to store them? Where are we going to get the money from? Where's all this? This is, this is engaging the intelligence in Krishna's service. And so then naturally that material element, the intelligence, the buddhi, it changes quality. It gets transformed. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagnir brahmanohutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahmakarma samadhina. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that any dravya, any material element that you use in the service of the Supreme, it becomes transformed. That's the secret. And he says, so spirit, this matter is just spirit covered over with ignorance. What's the ignorance? It's separate from Krishna. I'll use it for myself. It doesn't make any sense. Like the hand saying, like, there's a nice cake. I'll eat it. No, let me handle this. Like, hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to put it in the mouth. So I was like, no, I got this. It's like, did you like it? Like, I didn't really taste anything. And that's in the material world. We're just smashing everything up. It's like it seems like a good idea, but you don't get anything out of it. So we're being reconnected. Our intelligence is being reconnected with Krishna. And the transformation really takes place when we understand our real self-interest. I remember once I was in Jagannath Puri with a friend of mine, and we were circumambulating the temple every day. We'd go around and sing Brahma Samhita, and we'd stop at various temples around the temple. And I remember I was reading Prahlad Maharaj at the time, and he says in his prayers to Nrsingadev that the person who decorates his face and then looks in the mirror notices that the image in the mirror is also decorated, right? So Then he says, we're like the reflected image of Krishna. So if we decorate Krishna, then we become decorated. Now, for a self-interested person, you go like, hey, wait a minute, I've been missing the whole point. Everything's for Krishna. There's this switch that gets flipped, and then we understand that actually my real self-interest is in giving to Krishna because I'm part and parcel of Krishna. The materially contaminated intelligence thinks, Krishna, what am I going to give to Krishna for? Like, I'm God, I'm the center. This is a diseased condition of life. We're not actually. We enjoy by giving Krishna enjoyment. So the intelligence can be materially absorbed in thinking how to satisfy myself in the material world, and then you come up, okay, there used to be chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla ice cream. That's it. I'm telling you, that was it when I was a kid. And then 31 flavors came out. Who thought of that? Somebody who was thinking like, there's not enough enjoyment in the material world. We have to have 31 flavors. Now, in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we were noticing as we read through the Adi Leela, there's descriptions of way more than 31 preparations for Krishna, right? I mean, they go on, Kaviraj Goswami goes on for pages and pages describing, like, name a few. Let's see if you can get 5. Shak, Amrita Keli, fried cream. What is fried cream? Okay, then I keep hearing it's like, fried cream? Are you going to eat fried cream? That sounds like that's a health food. Okay, then. Sandesh, work with me, people. Squash. It goes on for pages and pages. Everyone's going like, wow. Well, and some devotees ask, like, why are we, getting treated to all this, especially on Ekadashi? So the point is that nothing wrong with variety. Variety's fine. Let there be unlimited variety. But all these descriptions are what was offered to Krishna. And amazingly, when you hear about the bags of Raghava, Damayanti used to cook for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so lovingly. Their whole consciousness was absorbed, just like these garlands the devotees making. They're just absorbed thinking, I'm going to offer this to Radha Madan Mohan. And so she was thinking, how am I going to offer this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I got to cook it perfectly. So much love. And then they packaged them together, and her brother helped carry it to Puri every year. And they had a few bearers to help them, all these bags, because it was meant to last the whole year, so Mahaprabhu could eat it every day. Now, when devotees who are in tune with the idea that by serving Krishna, we become happy, they hear this, tears come down their eyes. So when you start hearing like how Krishna was offered all these preparations and tears start coming down your face, you know you're like moving into a new realm. When tears start coming down your face because, you didn't get the offering. Of course, that's not bad either because it's prasadam, you should cry. But, there's a change of heart. We actually change our intelligence. Our intelligence, the intelligence of somebody, purified intelligence, they're always thinking how to engage everything in Krishna's service. They're thinking how to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world, Prabhupada said. Prabhupada says in the Upadeshamrita, this is the sign of the most advanced devotee. The Uttama Adhikari is thinking 24 hours a day how to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So the intelligence is there, but it's different. It's thinking, how do I give this to others? How do I please the acharyas and so forth, rather than, where's mine? How come I didn't get enough? And that's called samsara chittam. There's a way that the chitta is absorbed in samsara. Okay, there's a couple more. Yes.
I had a comment and a question, Prabhu. So my comment was, I was just thinking that Srila Prabhupada has made it so easy. The mantra for the mind, shastra for the intelligence, and for every sense, he has given a perfect thing, like prasad for taste, hearing, seeing the deities and touching devotees and deities. So I was just so thankful. Such a difficult thing to understand of how we can purify, but then it's fun way to do the whole thing. My question is, when we say chitta, so is chitta different to intelligence? Or what does exactly that word chitta mean?
It's actually the aggregate of the mind and the intelligence together, and the ego. The subtle elements altogether are mentioned as chitta. And sometimes in various contexts, you'll notice that it's translated as the mind. But it's all of them working together. It's described more in the Yoga Sutras, the difference between them. Because there are subtle differences. There's a hierarchical system, and they do have their different roles. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
In the purport today we read that dreams are in the mode of passion and deep dreamless sleep is in the mode of ignorance. So my question is, does it mean that dreamless sleep is better than deep sleep?
No, wouldn't it be the opposite from the question you're asking? Because deep sleep is in the mode of ignorance, no?
Yeah. So, but dreamy sleep is in the mode of passion.
Dreaming sleep is in the mode of passion. So ask your question again.
So my question is dreamy sleep better than deep dreamless sleep?
Well, it's good to get deep sleep. We need the mode of ignorance. It's not that because the mode of ignorance is here, we have to, if you didn't have the mode of ignorance, you wouldn't be able to go to sleep, actually. You can't sleep without it. So we're, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're inextricably connected to the material nature. So the way the body works, there are different times a day then we depend on the mode of ignorance. We're able to go to sleep. Interestingly about sleep, it's mentioned in the Tattva Sandarbha. There's a verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad that talks about how at the time of deep sleep, all of the nerve endings, there are tens of millions of nerve endings within the brain, and they all then go into one major nerve at that time. They're all not firing as much, and they all depend on this one major nerve. I forget the name of it right now, I'm sorry. This is also confirmed in modern science. It's similar data from research on sleep science. But then the Shvetashvatara Upanishad goes further and says that when we go into deep sleep, there's a way that we're in proximity to the Supersoul. Of course, we're always in proximity to the Supersoul, right? Tadejati, tanaijati, tadure, tadvantike. He's always there with us. And that is one of the reasons that we become refreshed, is when we go into deep sleep, there's a sense of connection to the Paramatma. And we come out and we're like, wow, I think I'm okay. Last night I wasn't okay, now I'm okay. That doesn't mean that you should try to sleep more. Should sleep just enough, and not too much and not too little, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. But each one has its function. And if you're dreaming, Prabhupada said, if all your activities in the daytime are related to Krishna, if your mind's absorbed in Krishna, when you sleep, you'll dream about Krishna too. And you'll hear that through the Shastras. Devotees all the time are having revelatory dreams. And have you ever had a dream where you're in a kirtan and you're like, Haribol, and then you wake up and you're like, well, I feel so good. When you're in contact with devotional service, even when you're dreaming, then you'll feel ecstatic. Or you saw some devotee, or maybe you saw your spiritual master or something, and you felt like, wow, I feel the connection. So when the problem that we have is being disconnected from Krishna. So in any situation, in all situations, we're always connected to Krishna. Krishna consciousness means just to realize that. Ritirtam yat pratyeta na pratyeta chapmani tadvidyat manomayam yatabhaso yatatamaha. This is Krishna speaking to Brahma in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. He says, the only problem you have is thinking that something's different from me. There is nothing different from me. But if you think it is, then you're in Maya. And Maya hurts. she will hit you, she will hurt you. You know the song, right? George Harrison, about Maya. He wrote a song about Maya on one of his albums that he wrote right after he got out of the Beatles. It was a big hit, actually. And he has lots of songs there about Krishna consciousness. One of them is about Maya. Beware of Maya, it's called. Beware of Maya. You want me to sing it? Yeah. Beware of Maya. Okay, that's all they could sing. 1, 2.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I wanted to confirm and consult with you that so there is Krishna, and then he designs the plan for this world, and all jivas.
He designs what?
Like plan for this world, like for everybody,
Plan.
he has a plan. And then jivatmas, we also have minute independence. More often than not, I make a lot of wrong decisions. So I want to consult even my independent decisions, or whatever independence I have, I want to consult that with Krishna. And you were talking about chanting and hearing as the main point of entry for spiritualizing your intelligence. So how do I connect these two? Me using even my independence to somehow be in line with Krishna consciousness, and then spiritualizing intelligence.
In the Gita, Krishna says one who studies this sacred dialogue between Arjuna and me worships me with their intelligence. And when you worship Krishna with your intelligence by hearing the Bhagavad Gita, your intelligence gets purified. Have you ever had this experience? You read Bhagavad Gita and then you just feel fortified. It's like, I know how to do the right thing because I just read Bhagavad Gita. So if you read it every day, that's very helpful. You may come to situations where like, okay, I could do this or that in Krishna consciousness. I'm not sure what to do. Get an attorney. You have to get an attorney. Like find some devotees who have been around for a while, been through a lot, and have kept applying Krishna consciousness in their life, and they say, what did you do? You know, that's how you get guidance from different sides, from the Shastra and from people who are living in the Shastra. And then if you ask those questions, like, what do you think? Should I do this or that? And they say, well, this is what I did, and it worked out. So, you know, you could try that. Fact is, if your intention is right, if you intend to serve Krishna, in other words, let's say you have a decision to make. It's a big decision, say an economic decision. And then you ask yourself this question, what's better for my service to Krishna? I can make more money over here, but I know I'm not going to, you know, go to the temple because I'll be so far-flung, in such a far-flung place, I won't make it. That makes it simple, right? And or more complicated. And then you decide, okay, I'll take less money, but I'll live next to the temple. I'm just saying as an example. And then you go for that. Okay, then Krishna will make everything work properly because your intention was right. When your intention is right, when your motive is right, when you're doing things, then it's going to work out. And if your motive's wrong, it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to turn out wrong. Krishna is the one who's carrying everything. In fact, I had this realization the other day. I'm glad I thought of it because I could share it. I woke up in the morning, I say a prayer before I stand up. You know, first thing I say, Nama Om. Before I even sit up, I say, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshadarni Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. By then the ignorance is like dissipating fast, right? And then they say, Jayati Jana Nivaso Devaki Janmavado Yaru Parishat Swardobira Asyana Dharmam Stirachara Vijinana Susmita Sri Mukhena Vrajapura Vanitanam Bharyam Kama Devam. It's a very beautiful prayer to Krishna, which really goes to his personality and how he relates to all kinds of people and animals and everybody. And then I swing out of bed, put my left foot on the ground first, learn this from one of the Padadis, and say, oh, Mother Bhumi, please forgive me for stepping on your surface. So I like that, because I like, wow, Bhumi's here. She's allowing me, entrance, and I'm not going to take it for granted. I don't have a sense of entitlement. Before I put my right foot on the ground, or then I put my right foot on the ground, and then I say thank you to Srila Prabhupada and to Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and several others, like people that I greatly admire and have helped me. I just say thank you to them. I learned that from Satyadev Prabhu. He said every morning he gets up, he stands in front of a picture of Prabhupada and says, thank you, Srila Prabhupada. And I started doing it. So you do it, I'm going to do it. So I started doing it, and immediately I feel this gratitude. And then I started saying a prayer, which is that, please empower me to do my duty properly today. And it's amazing, when I hear that word duty, I just think like, all I have to do is do my duty. I'm imperfect in every single way possible. But if I have the motive just to do my duty to serve Krishna, then everything's going to be okay. There's nothing that can go wrong at all if you try to do your duty for Krishna, if you line your motive up in that way. And hear Bhagavad Gita, then take, guidance from others who've got some skin in the game and have kept their motives strong no matter what has happened to them in their life, and they'll give you good advice. And you'll make it through the whole lifetime perfectly. Not perfectly, but that's part of the point. It's never perfect, but we learn from all our mistakes as we get, beat up, pushed around. Everything happens to us in this world. It's going to happen. But when we're able to react to it the way Krishna says we should react to it, then our life becomes fully mature, whole, and perfect. And it's unimaginable how great it is to grow up all through your whole life in Krishna consciousness. And then just to have that complete asset that you gave your whole life to Krishna. That's the best thing you could possibly have. Okay, there was one more, and then we're going to stop. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. So I had two reflections. One was you said beautifully about Prahlad Maharaj, about how when we decorate ourselves, the mirror, the face in the mirror also is decorated. Actually, when I started off in Krishna consciousness, a devotee who met me shared this one verse because he knew I was super self-centered. I was like very focused. My academics is most important. So he said this, that Prahlad Maharaj says, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnum. So he's like, you don't even know your self-interest, and your self-interest is actually to worship Vishnu. So I was like, oh, so that actually changed me. I was like, oh, that's actually my self-interest that actually is really helpful to worship Vishnu. So that, Vishnu or Krishna. So that was something that I really loved, and thank you very much, Maharaj, for sharing that very beautiful point. Also, another thing was slightly on the technical side, when you mentioned about how a seed grows into a tree, and that basically has fruits that actually generates more seeds. In my research, I've studied a lot about self-replicating cellular automatons, which was a theory proposed in math by this very great scientist named von Neumann. And they've actually, all this while, they've been trying to, it's a very beautiful, intricate mathematical theory, but they've been trying to replicate it in physical system, and it's almost impossible to do so. They've been trying it for the last 100, from 1900 was when it was proposed, and almost 120 years now, we've not been able to find a good example, even a small, simple one, just have one round of replication, where you have the self-replication, where you have seed go to a tree to become another seed and then becomes another tree. That's not yet found. So I really appreciate that amazing point that you made. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Yeah, interesting, the realm of science and lining it up with the ways the Shastra says. We're not anti-science, but if we engage science in trying to understand the unlimited nature of the world and so forth, then it also becomes purified. There's a verse that Narada Muni gives in his teachings to Vyasadeva. What verse am I thinking? Yeah, how's it start? Yeah, that's the middle. I need the first word. But that's the verse, yeah. Idam hi pumsam tapasa shutasya va sutasya tabuti datayo avichutar tar kavibir nirupito Yeah, Uttama Shloka Gunar Navarnanam. So this verse mentions that you can use everything. It's a beautiful world, actually. I mean, there's so much here. I remember in my college days looking at the syllabus and thinking like, God, there's so much cool stuff you can learn, you know. You just go through it and it's like this, that. So just connect it somehow to Krishna. And, you know, I'd be in a class and I'd write something that was related to Krishna, somehow relating it to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita or something. It always caught the attention of the teacher. Everyone else writing this, that, boring. But somehow or other, if Krishna comes into it, and, you know, you connect it to Krishna's intelligence in the Bhagavad Gita, they always noticed it. There's like, wow, where are you getting this stuff from? And I grew up in an ashram. You know, if you hang out with sadhus, you get good ideas. So, like everything he's saying should be used. Go ahead, go for it. It's a big, beautiful world full of variety. But just connect everything up, that's all. Don't lose the connection, because once you lose the connection, then you're in darkness. You're just wandering aimlessly in the material world. It doesn't really mean anything. You're not getting anything out of it. It's samsara chittam. You're just contributing to this process where you're going to go through and recycle and become absorbed in the same stuff you were before. It's just in different combinations and permutations. Okay, so Nirkula has the last word.
When Prabhu was talking about the science and how they're trying to figure this out, I was listening to a lecture by Prabhupada, and he was talking about Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, and he said, Krishna knew the physics. And that just really struck me like, oh, it's Krishna consciousness is a science. And it just, I like that.
Yeah, Krishna knew the physics. Okay, well, now we have a couple of announcements, and then we have a presentation by Bali Mardan Prabhu, who is using his way above average IQ and brain for thinking of ways to augment our processes like Sankirtan and things like that. And so let's take 15 minutes or so, whatever you need, to make announcements for Bhakti community, and then Sankirtan, and then we'll have Bali Mardan Prabhu come up here and give his ideas about improving Sankirtan. Let's welcome Pavani Bhakti.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. You all know about Bhakti Community. It's an online community for any newcomers. Whenever we give books, we introduce Bhakti Community to them. We have some good programs that go on throughout the week, Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So almost any day in the week you choose, you have a program. We have a nice series going on Mondays, which is called Bhakti Lessons from the World. Wonderful session. It's taken by Vaisesika Prabhu. And then on Thursday we have Bhakti Circle, where we do a very much like a very casual, not like an instructor-led class, but break out people into different Zoom rooms and they discuss the subject matter. So it's a nice one. And then Friday's corporate programs, it's called Success Sadhana. And Sunday's Women's Circle, that goes on in the morning. So anybody you think would benefit from these classes, please introduce them to the Bhakti community. There's a very beautiful flyer that we have. So please make sure that when you go for book distribution, you also have the flyer. That would also help you to do a much better job of the book distribution. One quick update, we have a few programs which are going on. Suvarna Gopika and Katha Prabhu, they started Bhakti Circle format in their home. So we started that, the first program, harmonizing body, mind, and spirit in the home. There were like close to 15 people or so who joined. and they really liked. Normally we do these programs in an online setup. This time we did it in person. It was really good. And it was already tried and tested by Manipal University. Those girls are really rocking and really doing good. We were going to add them to our Vaishnava Sangha Lava. Now we started there in Siddhakatha in Mountain House. And now we also started in Mantra Room. We did the 5th session yesterday, Moods and Modes. Our Bhakti Circle second series is going to finish next week. So we completed like 32 weeks, 2 sessions. This year it will complete, and we'll start the new session next year. So this is a good time if you have some newcomers who have been waiting to join these because we were a little bit advanced. Please introduce them quickly for the next year series that will go on. And regardless of that, Mondays are always open for anyone. You don't need to attend a prior class to attend the Monday class. Anybody can join anytime. So please welcome everyone to Bhakti Community. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We had a very successful weekend last week. It was pouring out there, but it was so nice. So many devotees loaded up their cars, each car about 15 cases of Gita and some cases of SSR and everything. And we are very, very happy to report that we distributed at least 5,000 Bhagavad Gitas last week. We have still 20,000 more to go. So if we continue with this momentum, with this plan, the devotees actually made a plan for this many amount of Gitas, how many we have to do every week. They had carefully thought, calculated, and divided those among the teams and everything like that. And so please do join one of the teams. We can go to many places. Even though it's raining, the best place to distribute is store to store, and the best time also because everybody's inside. So please join. And we also have a very exciting announcement for the next Sunday. We have Kids Sankirtan team party. They want to also pitch in for the goal. They don't want to do any less. So they want to distribute at least 5,000 Bhagavad Gitas in one day. So Sukheshwari Mataji and her team are leading this effort. And the best part is you distribute books in the morning from 10:30 a.m. to by 2:30 p.m. And there is a pizza party for all the kids here at the temple around 3 o'clock. So I think the parents are included. I'm not sure, but I think they are. So please... Oh, Nirakula Mataji is saying, adopt a kid for the day. So she's going to send out the details. And this weekend, this 5,000 Bhagavad Gitas, we are going to carefully pack them. And there are 5,000 cookies also coming. Hansapriya is making all of them. And we will pack them in the bags with the thank you cards and the cookies in there. So each family, I think they get at least only 2 boxes. Take it this weekend so you can pack and keep it ready, and you can be ready for your book distribution next Sunday. So please look out for some emails and messages on the WhatsApp group for the same. And this weekend, again, we're going out, so please join us. I just wanted to share one story from the last week. I don't know, this was shared on the global call, but I'm not sure if you attended. We were going to store in some different areas. One was in Morgan Hill. And we went to an ice cream shop. As you know, this time of the year is very cold and not many customers for them. But when we went in, the owner was there and he said, please come in. And we told them these are the books on yoga meditation that will help you relieve stress and anxiety. And we wanted to give it to you and for your customers. And And they all thought it was a very good idea because everybody is stressful, and to give a gift, especially during the time of holidays. And he said, yes, I will take 2 cases of Bhagavad Gita. And we were setting up in his shop at a place where their customers can pick up those Gitas. And then he was asking me, does this book tell me how to sell ice creams in winter? and we told him that this will not tell you that, but it will tell you that if you don't sell ice creams in winter, how can you be happy? So it was very nice. And many store owners like that, they took the Gitas and they said that they want to distribute. So they're all now empowered in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army to become a Sankirtan devotee. And just imagine the amount of sukruti they will be getting. And another realization for many devotees were that this is the greatest gift that we have, and especially at ISV, and we are able to freely give it out to many people, and it's rare. We cannot take it for granted that we will have all these books forever. So while there is an opportunity, we can just take books and distribute to your heart's content, and then please Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the process. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
And now we'll bring up His Grace Bali Mardan Prabhu. Please welcome him.
Just, yeah, little for just a clue. Just up, Mataji. Up with this one. Okay. Okay, good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I would like to share with you some of the concept which I was meditating for last maybe couple of months. I sent an email about my proposal to Vaisesika Prabhu when he was in Vrindavan. Then he said, okay, let's go for it and see the pilot. So it is my kind of a demonstrating what is good for ISP, what will be good for ISP, Sankirtan. So I call it a Jaladuta 30 is called 30. So I imagine that this project and this concept is going to really be for 7 years. 23 now, almost 23, so until 30th. So that's what I call Sankirtan Jaladuta 30. And the reason I call Jaladuta, because Jaladuta, which Prabhupada came from India to America with the Srimad-Bhagavatam sets. And many of these gods you can see, really they are, it is not like imagination, this is true, which has supported Prabhupada. So there will be a demo. I'm not giving a kind of a concept which is theory. Rather than I will going to show a demonstrate what I say, it is truly possible. And my name is Balimardhan Das. Those who are watching online, please. Okay. What happened? Krishna Mataji, is it? Okay, sorry, I am. Got it. So Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita 3.2 purport says, more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. So that means for Sankirtan, why he says, because a better system, if you know 7 purposes of ISKCON, one of the things, the key word Prabhupada says, systematically. And that's why systematically comes by system thinking. So if you see, ISP Sankirtan started officially a decade ago from the storefront of Union Avenue, San Jose. We have been expanding with the goals, theme, resources, and many other areas. So now, the next one, let me go. It is so slow. In Srimad-Bhagavatam 5:19-24, Prabhupada mentioned, expand the Krishna consciousness by better, efficient system. Vaikunta Katha Sudapaga, na sadhavo bhagavatas tadasraya, na yatra yagnesa mukha mahotsava, suresa loka pinavaisa sabhyatam. So here, the main point Prabhupada says is expand the Krishna consciousness by a better, efficient Sankirtan system. So which is likely, you can imagine what Prabhupada's mind. And if you go ahead in each of these things, His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, whenever he says the Brihat Mridanga concept, in his logo, if you see, there will be printing press. And he will always say that use the best system what we can offer. And before Indian independence, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj even used a Western toilet in his bathroom. Many sadhus will criticize. But he wants to be relevant. He doesn't want to be shy for using best system. So now, what I am offering here, so the demo would be around, 7 years we change our body. Every 7 years, you become a new Kotukarnava or new Ekshar. So basically, your whole system gets changed. That's for scientific reason. So we have done how many years? Many years. Now at this juncture, we need to transform ourselves. In order to transform ourselves, because if you think as is, whatever going chalta hai, it doesn't work. We need to really transform ourselves in order to be suited in the market well. So what does it mean? Is I am going to share the box which are going to demonstrate now. Both Namsmaran Prabhu and Vaishnav Tosuni will be my partner, and there are many more. So this is called Jaladuta box. So we will just demonstrate how to set up and how do we get the effective audience. Because nowadays in America, what the people say, when you are working in a company, customer is the king. If you are, whatever you are doing, we don't see that the persons we are meeting, it is not intended for them. So what is the value, isn't it? So the best organization, if you see here, one of the item, please welcome Jaladuta. Yes, please go inside. Can you take this harmonium? So we'll have the mobile integrations, which is planned. So wherever in this Bay Area, let's say Vaisesika Prabhu is in Vrindavan, he wants to see how many people are going in this Saturday weekend, then he will be able to see there are 8 spots. One in San Francisco, one in Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley, San Jose, Pleasanton. So the 8 spots, then he will be able to see through them and how they are distributing books. And in the books, what Prabhupada mentioned, utility is the principle. Books are the basis, purity is the force, utility is the principle, and preaching is the essence. So utility means we need to know how to use the tools associated. And what is the 4 laws of book distribution? Who knows? Your sadhana must be strong. You get books. The more you sow, the more you sell. And last one is, you must organize. I am taking the concept from His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu in the book called Our Family Business and also in his many seminar. So now, I will, in the meantime, as you see, I hope the camera is on with them, not with me always. So, Namsmaran Prabhu and Vaishnava Tosuni, I'll be talking only. So they are kind of coming to Santa Cruz. This is Santa Cruz downtown, and they're coming with one Jaladuta box. This Jaladuta box carries everything. The reason we are making in one package, because it's a one seed. As you know, Swayambhava Manu, when he was doing a fish incarnation, he carried few of these items in his whole things. So now they got everything. A tablecloth, tables, the luggage cart, and you can imagine any of the things which comes into pictures. So they are setting up, and it doesn't take too long. If they are going for a 4 hours to 6 hours of business, it takes likely 10-15 minutes. But the good part of the thing is that everything I could imagine which is necessary for a Sankirtan warriors, it is available there. For necessary for a Sankirtan warriors, it is available. So now you can see we have the banner. So it is likely possibly it could be improved a little bit, but you can see on the side, ISKCON of Silicon Valley, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, and our website, so which will be placed. And this is all coming from the Jaladuta box. There is nothing separate you need to carry. And this Jaladuta box will be carrying for two separate ones. One is for a mini for the children, and another is for the adults. So the children is there anyone 11 years old plus? 11 years. 12, how many years? 15. Doesn't matter. 15 years old, someone can do themselves, two boys, they can make their own table set up anywhere else by this mini box. So now, if you see, Kunjari, she's, hi, Hare Krishna. You're liking Santa Cruz? Yeah. So what are you going to do today?
I'm going to distribute books.
Distribute books. Thank you. So now we have visitors. They're coming to Santa Cruz downtown. 3 of them visitors. Do you have this?
Oh yes, we have one team right now. We have one Jakarta box in San Ramon. We can ship it to you
Turn it on.
in like 20 minutes.
Please be seated. Customers should not go hungry. It's getting dark, almost 6:30, winter. Shall I pack up? Why? It's a rainy season now. Looks like announcement there could be rain. I saw drizzling. How do you protect the books? Really? That's the devotee can eat there also in prasadam, and that is saving the rain is saved. A lot of books. The books are saved. Thank you very much for watching this demo. Hare Krishna. My last request, those who are watching online or those who are here, how many of you are in the Weekend Warriors WhatsApp group? You're? Okay, so I will just launch a poll. Please choose how many really such kind of boxes we should have. So, hey Siri, could you launch the poll for the ISP Weekend Warrior? Okay. You'll be getting one in 1 minute, okay? Thank you very much for watching. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bali Mardan Prabhu, for always keeping ISV on the cutting edge. This is an idea whose time has come, and it's really an inspiring presentation. See how thoughtfully you've put everything in one place so we can expand all over the Bay Area. Everyone will have everything complete and ready to go. It makes us all want to go out today, right? Yes. Say yes. Yes. Very well. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And now we're going to have our Guru Puja. This is one of the processes that is most mentioned in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. For instance, Krishna himself says that worshipping my devotees is more important than worshipping myself. Mad bhakta puja bhyadika. So we're going to put away our Jaladuta box, and we're also going to move all the seats and roll up the rug, and then we'll gather right in front of Prabhupada's Vyasasana for the Guru Vandanam. Vanchakalpataruscha kripasinabhe vacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnaviniki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's chant this and a few other prayers that go along with this together. Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Shachi Putramatra Sarupam Shri Rupam Tasyagrajam Uruporim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. He Guru Gyanadadina Bandho Swananda Data Karunaika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahita Vata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachada He Dina Bandho Karunaika Sindho Kuru Prasada Mahimanda Mudhe Laksha Parade Bahupapa Gadhe Tadpada Padmestu Matishta Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified with words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, if one to us, give us the shades of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bando Mui Savadanuma Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavaturiya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Krishna prapti hoy ja hoy te. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya. Anakori ho mane asha. Anakori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Yutamagati. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se. Divya Gyan Hre Prakashita. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Abhidya Vinasa Jate. Prema Bhakti Jahoite Abhidya Vinasa Jate. Dere Gai Jahara Charita. Dere Gai Jahara Charita. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya. Ebe Jash Kushik Tribhuvana. Ebe Jash Kushik Tribhuvana. Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nariya Gotru mein Nityananda Mahajan, Pate Ache Naam Hata Jiva Rakharan. Sharabanjan hai, Sharabanjan hai. Sharabanjan hai, Sharabanjan hai. Prabhu Ragnai by Magi Bika. Prabhu Ragnai by Magi Bika. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shekha. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shekha. Parada Shuna Hoy Loho Krishna Nam. Aparada Shuna Hoy Loho Krishna Nam. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna ra samsara koro chari anachar. Krishna ra samsara koro chari anachar. Jive doya Krishna nam sarvadharma sar. Jive doya Krishna nam sarvadharma sar. Nariya Godume Nityananda Mahajan. Nariya Godume Nityananda Mahajan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol. Nadia Nagare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire. Nadia Nagare Nitai Niche Niche Gaire. Okay, get your Jaladuta box and get out there. What's the weather forecast for today? Dry? Hot? Rain? What about tonight at 6:59? What's the weather forecast? Is it above 80% chance? Only? It's only 60%. What does it say? 80 tonight? So we have to take a vote. This is democracy. So Palo Alto, yeah. Palo Alto's 70. So we have a permit to be there at Lytton Plaza. And we saw that the new Jaladuta box does well in the rain. Wow.
Please.
For me? Thank you. This is so nice, hot and cold. Thank you. It's beautiful. What a great idea. Okay, so tonight, the devotees will have to know by this morning whether they're going to go there and set up. But it seems a little dicey because it's a big endeavor to pull everything out, go set it up, and then have it be rained upon. Because I'm not trying to influence anybody, but do we want to discuss it? Is Shamalangi present? Yeah. Let's see her on the screen. She's probably there somewhere. Oh. Well, what is she saying? Does anybody know?
I mean, we discussed, we were waiting for
Well, 70% probably means intermittent at some point. 85%? That's not very high. Okay. Malini, 85% chance of rain tonight. So I think we'll move the festival. It's too much endeavor to pull everything out there. And everyone can go longer if they want on Sankirtan and go, because it's much better in the rain for book distribution. We do always double. So if you want to do double what you've done before, you can just go out today in the rain. People like that. George Harrison noted that the devotees were out in Harinam when it was raining. We just don't want to pull our equipment out there and then have to put it all back again. Any other thoughts? Okay, so the program tonight, we won't go to Lytton Plaza. Unless you just want to do a walking Harinam with ponchos on. If you have a Balaram drum. Work with me, people. I'm not getting a lot of feedback. So we'll just have to, we'll just, I think it's best to cancel it. And other plans we'll discuss over breakfast. And if there's something more, we'll let you know. Yes, there was some activity over here. I could see it in Gita Priya's eyes. What do you got in mind? Have kirtan night in the temple room. That's possible. We'll ratify or not and let you know, okay? I just have to get in touch with everybody because it's a matter of also a few other features as far as using the room. Any other announcements? Yes, Malini.
Hare Krishna. We have some very good news. We used to use our Square card readers along with the phone, but now we have enabled contactless payments on the Square app. This is a new feature that is available, and thanks to Ananta Chaitanya Prabhu who found out this. So now, on your phone, when you use your Square app, it asks you to enable the the feature of this contactless payment. So directly on the phone, you can actually tap the card, and then it actually takes your payment. You don't need the device or anything. That's something new. And then Ananta Chaitanya Prabhu tried, and it worked. It just asks you to verify your Apple ID. That's okay. It doesn't send it to your Apple ID. It still goes to the Square Temple account. So try that today. And if you have any feedback about that, please let us know. But this is good. Now we don't need to carry any devices. Or if you forget also, it's okay. Then you can use that new feature. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Haribol.
Also, Hansapriya has been doing a lot of distribution, asking the new congregation members to take cases of Bhagavad Gita. And last week, how many?
Hare Krishna. So I know that many of you go out on book distribution, and those who don't go out or haven't had experience, but you know your friends and families and neighbors and babysitters and tailors. So please give them. We give you Bhagavad Gita as well as we have Trimurti sets, box ready. So if you just bring your car, and at the prasadam time, don't mind me when I come around and ask you if you would like to give this to your friends and family. Then we will load it up right underneath. Tarun Prabhu and Venudhari Prabhu has a nice tent. You won't get wet. You just have to, it's a drive-through service. So just bring your car. And this can be for your friends and family. If you are going on books, but give it to your friends and families to distribute also. We have cookies also, and we'll give you bags and stickers. And it's a self-service, so pack yourself, put a label on it. So we have hundreds of cookies, so don't be shy. You can take 2 cookies, 3 cookies, no problem. Last week we did around 18 cases of Bhagavad Gita and around 6 cases of Trimurti sets. I will give the accurate count, but we will help you with every step. We'll walk with you, okay? So you're not alone on this.
I think that's an important point, because there needs, even as friends and family, people don't exactly know how to introduce it or do it. So that training program that you have, I think it's really vital if people are loading up and taking.
Yes, Prabhu. I wanted to, last week when Hansapriya gave two boxes to somebody, and husband and wife were there loading the cars. And then husband said, I'll take 6 more cases. And the wife is saying, no, we cannot distribute so much. No, it's okay. Last time we took 1 case of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 1 case of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So they thought 1 box was 1 book that they have to distribute. So then husband was saying, no, give me 6 more. And wife is saying no. And she opened one and showed these are all the same 24 books. And the husband was saying, yes, now I understand. He took 2 cases. But it's important for us to explain what's inside the box, how many Bhagavad Gitas in there, and then also tell them, they were asking, what do we say to the friends and family? And then we gave them ideas that we wanted to give it as gifts to our friends and family. And the Bhagavad Gita is the most important literature, and which tells you, if it is Westerners, how it shows you get relief from stress and anxiety. And if you like, we also gave them the bags where they can put in the bag and give it as a gift. So when we give out to the devotees, new devotees, please make sure you help them understand what it is and what's inside the box, and what can they say to their friends and family as well. Yeah.
I think it's better if you make a card that has all the talking points on it. And then you can put it in each bag and give it with each. It'll take you 10 minutes to make, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something that gives some guidelines so they take it with them. Because they'll forget when they drive around the block exactly how to do it.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. What? Okay.
We can create a flyer, and then we can make just printouts as well.
Okay. Can we use the microphones?
Can we also post in company forums for people who are not our direct acquaintances?
I don't know about other companies, but at Adobe in the break rooms, and we have game rooms, and there are books in there too. And you will find the cookbooks, and you can see that some books are there also, like something like a higher test. I saw it myself. I found it. I don't know who put it, but I found it, and it's an amazing way to put it in the companies, break rooms, mail rooms, game rooms. So yeah, why not? And there is also most of the company, we are not just focused towards the Indian community, but also I just wanted to bring it to your attention that they have something like a Desi intranet or something. We have something called Desi Adobeans, right? So you can actually engage them also to distribute to the friends and family. Govind Prabhu, you had a question also?
Weather app, it shows 95% rain in Mountain View. You can see there is no rain actually. So I would take that with a grain of salt. And then we have the 2 tents also, right? We use for the prasadam outside. We can take that also.
Yes, Prabhu. We're going to continue and add to the rain by taking all the books out today. So it may be not at Harinam, but we will distribute different ways of Harinam. Well, thank you.
The tents they're not waterproof. I saw when I was in Italy, they had some tents, the water collects and then it pours down all at once onto, and somehow it's strategic, it lands on the speakers and everything like that. I mean, like I said, if we want to make a Harinam party, some devotees can go out and go around and Nagar Sankirtan, but setting up all the equipment is probably not wise because it could get soaked and have to throw it back in the van. Even if there's one shower, it could be like that. But I share your feeling, Govinda Prabhu, and I appreciate it, how you don't want to miss any Harinam. That's the spirit, actually, of Lord Chaitanya. Just another suggestion is, if you're parsing out books to various people, give them the stickers and ask them to put them in themselves. We might not have had Tim and Vicky if we didn't put how to get back to us, and people actually do read these books and they want to come. So as much as we can empower them to make sure that their books are complete, even as we're doing so many books, it'll be helpful. Okay, thanks.
So I just wanted to add that in the corporate environment, be a bit conscious or being aware that certain organizations are not friendly. In that context, when we are going to place the religious books, certain people, they believe that Bhagavad Gita is a religious text. So we need to be cautious when we are placing, because it might give because we have a sticker inside, then, it has a cascading impact on that side. So we just be cautious about that one. So I talked to Prabhu, when you need to place in their forums or, the Desi group or, other one, follow the guidelines, ask who is leading those group to make sure that they can post such things, so that way we remain compliant to their guidelines. Just thought to let you know. Thank you.
Sharira Jijajal Jodendriya Tahika Jive Pele Vishaya Shagahare Karma Jedi Vayati Loba Moisu Durmati Take jeta katita sanshare Krishna bodo doya moy Gori bare jiva jai Shaprasharana di lobai Shayanamrita pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Preme Dato Shite Tanya Gita Preme Dato Shite Tanya Gita Makta de Gune Punyapatam Nagan Vishwaso Navijayate Prasade Sarvadikana Anyastu Pujayate Prasana Cheta Suyati Vipalya Padishate Prayopa Vishwasakanda Asulam Karashashaha Ushita Bodhino Dasa Kavamayam Jaivahi Bhagavat Shrima Prashadaki Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Please come take prasadam. Hari Bol.